Stellar Lumens XLM is getting ready to tokenize the European markets. And in this one, we're going to be talking about exactly that. We're going to be starting off with a keynote speech from a conference given in Dubrovnik, Croatia. Beautiful country, by the way, from the ESMA, which is the European Securities and Market Authority. It was given by their executive director. And it essentially talks about a new industrial revolution that is taking place with DLT at the heart of it. The entire conversation was about tokenization. It specifically mentions the opportunity of tokenizing the $600 billion within the EU markets. This is huge news. We're going to show you just how well XLM is positioned. We know that Christine Lagarde, of course, recently met with Paul Atkins at the SEC, the guy that essentially has pioneered Project Crypto, where he's looking to enable markets to move on chain, and in doing so, induce a new era for markets. And very interestingly, just the other day, on the 11th of September, there was news that broke, and that was that Stellar Lumens has been chosen by the first fully regulated distributed ledger technology-based trading and settlement system to essentially enable this world that we're moving towards. This is the first. We're also going to hear from their CEO and what he's trying to do. Really sort of sums up the scope of all of this. And then I'm also going to show you that within Europe, Euroclear is a major player. They are effectively working with DTCC, which of course is actively looking to use and utilize Stellar Lumens. In fact, they've even came up and helped Stellar Lumens introduce and evolve protocols so that they can be compliant for this exact reason. DTCC is the premier clearinghouse really in the world, certainly for the US markets, with $100 trillion effectively under their, I wouldn't say control, but guardianship as it relates to settlement and clearing of securities. They essentially effectively make the stock markets and other markets work. Let's kick things off with the ESMA, the European Securities and Monetary Authority, or Market Authority, I should say. This was from Dubrovnik. Tokenization is the topic. It says, tokenization, an opportunity for EU's financial sector agenda. This is from Natasha, who is the executive director of the ESMA. This is from the 1st of September. She starts off by thanking individuals. She says, over the course of this conference, we will be hearing a lot about new technologies such as artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and their potential to transform our capital markets. I am sure you have already all appreciated how powerful these AI tools can be in our everyday life. We are clearly in the middle of a new industrial revolution. I'm looking forward to learning more about recent trends and new initiatives in our up-and-coming panels. She goes on to say, in my introductory remarks today, I would like to discuss an innovation that could reshape how we think about assets, participation, and access to capital markets, namely tokenization. Over the past few years, we have been witnessing a gradual but notable shift in how financial markets operate, driven by innovations in digital technologies. As we work towards advancing Europe's flagship project of building a true savings and investment union, ensuring it duly accounts for innovation and new technology is crucial. This shift invites us, policymakers, regulators, supervisories, and businesses to reflect on how regulated frameworks, supervisory tools, and market infrastructure may need to adapt to the use of distributed ledger technology, DLTs, while harnessing associated risks in the face of a global competitive pressure. It is ever more important we get this reflection right. Tokenization, or the representation of financial instruments in digital form on distributed ledgers, is one such technology with the potential to bring sufficient efficiency gains. This is not just a technological evolution. It could lead to a transformational change of our markets. With the right legal framework, it can contribute to the goal of the SIU by improving interoperability, transparency, and cross-border efficiencies. It can also cut costs for businesses by embedding compliance and reporting obligations directly into digital assets, while giving supervisory tools for real-time oversight. It says, at the heart of tokenization. Tokenization does not invent entirely new assets. Rather, it represents familiar instruments, shares, funds, units, or bonds in a new digital wrapper. We are already seeing a range of financial instruments being brought to DLT platforms. For now, they remain limited in scale, but the number of projects in development is growing. A number of financial firms, financial market infrastructures like DTCC or Euroclear, banks, asset managers have announced DLT-based initiatives moving from pilots to real-life use cases. Just last week, Google announced an institutional-grade ledger designed to support tokenization and real-world settlements, a reminder that major technology players are also now entering the space. Today, the market for tokenized assets is estimated at around $600 billion, with forecasts pointed to rapid growth in the years ahead. The AFME reports that issuance of tokenized fixed income instruments more than tripled in 2024, reaching 3 billion euros globally, with Europe representing more than half of the amounts issued. Now, we don't need to go into the rest of this. It is a good document. The reason I show this is to show you that Europe right now is positioning to embrace distributed ledger technology. And actually, just the other day, and this is from Christine Lagarde's X account, she says, "It was a pleasure to meet Paul Atkins, chairman of the US Securities and Exchange Commission at the ECB. Paul Atkins has launched Project Crypto. This is an initiative to, in his own words, evolve financial markets, to induce a new financial era, an evolution of markets. And he's looking to, and this also is in his words, allow for markets to move on chain, and they're doing a lot as it relates to that." Now, where Stellar comes in is just the other day, this is from Danielle Dixon, the CEO and Executive Director at the Stellar Development Foundation, a non-profit that is essentially the kind of organization really behind pushing the adoption of Stellar Lumens, and they've been doing a great job, says, "Trade on 21X's regulated secondary market launches on Stellar, provides its institutional choice for tokenized finance. We're built for this." This is what the Stellar post has to say. It says, "Big news. Trade on 21X on Stellar means financial institutions can list and trade tokenized securities on regulated secondary market venues in the European Union." If we dive over to their press release, it says 21X and Stellar open regulated pathways for tokenized capital markets. Stellar is everywhere, guys, as it relates to the tokenization of assets. They're also, I believe, the best positioned right now DLT as far as stablecoins are concerned in real-world adoption. It says 21X, Europe's first fully regulated distributed ledger technology-based trading and settlement system, DLT-TSS, today announced the launch of 21X on the Stellar network as part of its multi-chain expansion. This collaboration was formally announced at Fireblocks in Barcelona, an event which brought together leading financial institutions and technology partners, underscoring the growing momentum behind institutional adoption of on-chain finance, which we know the EU is essentially looking to do based on my opening read. It says this strategic collaboration will enable financial institutions to list and trade tokenized securities on Stellar for the first time on regulated secondary market venues in the European Union. This expansion marks the official launch of 21X's multi-chain strategy, positioning the company as a technology-agnostic market infrastructure provider with its unique EU DLT regime license, the first, as it were. 21X is authorized to operate across multiple public blockchains, meeting the diverse need of institutional markets. Stellar Lumens is one. Following the launch of its secondary markets on the 8th of September 2025, 21X has now chosen to extend its operations to the Stellar network, making it the second public blockchain available on 21X. The platform will be available to investors by the end of 2025. This integration brings issuers and investors speed, scale, and security, with Stellar as the network for liquid, compliant, tokenized markets. It was Dan Donay that actually helped to make Stellar compliant with their clawback feature. He, of course, is now the head of DTCC, which was acquired by Securency, which was Dan Donay's kind of project, was acquired by DTCC to enable financial markets to come on chain. He is a big fan of Stellar. We've shown you lots of evidence of that. Furthermore, both the Stellar network and 21X are already directly accessible via the Fireblocks infrastructure, allowing institutions to connect to this new regulated market through their existing framework. Its robust infrastructure is also aligned with regulatory standards applicable for securities and stablecoins on 21X. The mature Stellar ecosystem with an established base of issuers, tokenized assets, and regulated stablecoins provides a strong foundation for a liquid and active market. We don't need to read the rest of this, but this is pretty significant. The one thing I do want to read is some of Danelle Dixon's remarks. She says, Stellar is a leader in tokenization of real-world assets because the network was built for the issuance and transfer of real-world assets at scale. The Stellar network is where the first ever regulated money market fund launched, and 21X's first ever regulated secondary market coming to Stellar is further proof that Stellar's network is the network for institutional grade tokenized finance. This is big news, ladies and gentlemen. It cannot be understated. Stellar really is in that pole position. Let's now dive over to the founder and CEO of 21X and see what his kind of vision is. Let's play this clip.
Types of products that we are focusing on and where we see most demand coming at this time is particularly when looking at money market funds and demand for money market funds also in the context of collateralization, right? But also if you take into account that stablecoins are non-interest bearing and by means of regulation are not allowed to be interest bearing. So where we see great, use cases and also business cases arising, in particular on the cash and treasury management side. For example, in the process of partnering with one of the world's largest ERP system providers to enable corporates by means of connecting their wallet to get access to the market directly, the trading venue, and basically go in and out of fixed income products or treasuries and the likes. So that's one product category that we see a lot of demand for. Another one is in the field of ETFs. So we are now working with some of the world's leading ETF providers, are tokenizing ETFs to make them available through new distribution channels. And then another segment that we see great demand for is tokenized equities, even though it's a bit misleading because most of the large blue chip companies have not tokenized their cap tables to date. What we are actually talking about is a structured product. It's like a tracker certificate that is a, say, one-to-one representation of the actual underlying equity of blue chip companies, whether it's in the US equities market. And for that purpose, I think, or in that context, what we always like to emphasize is that we call that the Spotify moment of capital markets. Making capital markets directly accessible, being self-custody enabled, at the same time eliminating necessities such as, clearing, and also alongside that settlement risks should lead to a revolution.
Stellar Lumens is doing that. This is huge. How many more links or pieces of evidence do we need to show you guys in regards to just how well positioned Stellar Lumens truly is? Now, we know that DTCC, which are the premier clearinghouse for securities in the world, are actively looking to use and utilize Stellar Lumens. We've shown you a lot of links for this. They did a demonstration where Dan spoke about the $100 trillion that he wants to enable to come on chain. And they did a number of sort of demonstrations of this in regards to it. And one demonstration they showed DTCC's digital launchpad, and they show asset conversion, and they show a number of institutions: BNY Mellon, JSDEC, Euroclear, which is the one that we're interested in, and the fact that Euroclear is effectively looking to use DTCC, which we know is looking to use Stellar Lumens. This is from Nadine Shakar, who is the managing director and global head of DTCC's digital assets. So Dan Donay is effectively the, I think, chief technical officer. If we scroll down and look, and this was submitted in the United States to Congress, if we go down and we look at some of their kind of terminology, it says tokenized funds, DDAs, tokenized infrastructure technology, and the CAFT have been implemented to support WisdomTree's tokenized funds. These funds have been received These funds have received SEC approval and represent first of their kind registered securities on blockchain infrastructure. The primary record of share ownership and the funds is held on traditional books and records, while a secondary record of shares is kept on either the Stellar, being the first one they mentioned, or Ethereum blockchain. The writing is on the wall, ladies and gentlemen. Stellar Lumens is going to play a vital role in this industrial revolution, this new era for markets. And every day we get more confirmation of that. That's certainly my own opinion. I want to hear yours in the comment section. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.